Hello, my fellow bottomless readers. I'm Alexia, and welcome to my video. Today, I am going to give you a little wrap-up of the books I read in January, and then I thought it would be super fun to pick the books I want to read in February, or at least some options for February using tarot cards. So, a bit of a disclaimer. I know some people have a stigma towards tarot cards, and I just want to clarify that this is a safe space, this is a positive space. I always am very intentional when using my decks. I've prayed and blessed, or whatever you want to call it, before using every single deck I've had, making sure that when I use them, it's just from love and light beings and my usual spiritual team and stuff like that. So I just want to say they're not bad, they're not evil. It's really just another medium to connect with the universe, connect to spirit, connect to whatever it is you believe in, really. So it's no different than some people who go to a temple, or some people who like to pray at church or something like that. So I do want to kind of clarify that for those who aren't very familiar with tarot. And I also wanted to say, for those who do kind of practice it and know more about tarot, I will not be putting intention into the cards. I just feel like I had this idea for a while, and it felt kind of weird and icky to shuffle them and put intention out into the universe and connect with my spiritual team just to pick some books. I don't know, it just sounds kind of silly, and I don't want to put actual intention or energy into it, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to open the deck and just pick whatever is at the top or at the bottom, and I'm gonna do it that way, so that way it doesn't feel kind of like I'm just connecting with the universe just to pick some books I want to read in February. So now that little disclaimer and explanation is done, let's get right into it. If you want to grab a little cup of goodness and sit back, relax, and join me, I am so excited to get into this video. Alrighty, so starting off with my January reads, I read 3 books this past month. I would say it was a pretty decent reading month. The first book I read was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is the 3rd one in the installment. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Harry Potter, but it's basically just following Harry Potter, who discovers he's a wizard, and he goes to a special school named Hogwarts for witchcraft and wizardry, and it just follows his adventures and just kind of finding his place in this school. And of course, it's super adventurous, super comical, and super lovable characters. So I give this one a 4 stars. I've given all of them a 4 stars, really. They're all really well-rounded stories, and I just highly enjoy them. So I'm excited to continue on, and I'm around 200 pages into the Goblet of Fire right now, so I can't wait to finish that one. The next one I read was Under the Whispering Door. This was actually my book club's pick for December, and I read it kind of late. I didn't get to read it in December. December was just a hectic month for me, but I finished it in January, and oh my god, this was my first 5-star read of the year. This was just absolutely amazing. I highly recommend this one. This one is basically about Wallace, who is a big shot lawyer. He is pretty ruthless and doesn't really show a lot of empathy. And one day he dies, and a reaper comes to get him and basically explains that he's going to a tea shop owned by someone named Hugo, and Hugo is the ferryman. So the reaper is basically the person who goes and gets the person who died and helps them answer any questions they have about their death or surrounding where they're going, I guess, but they don't really say too much about what's next after that. May is the Reaper, and she takes him to the tea shop, and it's owned by Hugo, who's the ferryman, like I said before. And the ferryman really is the person who gets down into, they're kind of like a life coach slash counselor in a way, and they kind of help them answer any questions they have, kind of process the fact that they're dead. And from there, it's just about Wallace coming to terms with his death and essentially trying to come to terms with it before moving on. And the tea shop was just so whimsical and so magical. It's basically just Hugo and May who run it, and people just go there and they have no idea that it's kind of an in-between place. Hey guys, I forgot to say one of the best parts about this book is the tea shop itself, because Hugo has this assortment of a bunch of different tea leaves. He somehow knows how to pick the tea that's going to connect that person with a fond memory that they've had of their past, or a significant memory to them. So that was just such a whimsical and unique part of the book too, because it was just super interesting to see the the different teas that some characters would get and what it would remind them of, and kind of the significance behind the teas. And it was just so cozy as well in a strange way. It does deal with a lot of serious topics, but it's still very comical. TJ Klune just has a way of dealing with such introspective and, I wouldn't say hard, but deeper subjects in a way that is still full of love and humor and humanity. So I just wanted to put that in there. They're just such diverse characters, and I just love this. It just had so much commentary of how we live our lives, what's important, what we think is important, and what is actually important, and just the grief we can have for ourselves and for maybe not living the life we expected, or maybe realizing that we could have done certain things differently, and also just sitting back and enjoying life. It was just so cute. Of course, there's a romance between Hugo and Wallace, but I liked that it didn't really focus too much on that. It was a lot on Wallace's character growth and his development, and it was just so good. So good. There's a little dog in it, which the dog is a ghost, and then there's also Hugo's grandfather who hasn't moved on, and he's also a ghost there, and he's just so funny. So it's just everything you want. It makes you happy, it makes you laugh, it makes you tear up, and in the end, it just makes you introspect and think through a lot of how you're living your life. So that was a really long-winded explanation, but check this out. It's really good. It's lovely. It's such a lovely read. Next, I have When in Rome. I gave this one's by Sarah Adams. I gave this one just 3 stars. I will say I wasn't super enthralled by this. This was my book club's pick for January, and it was cute. I didn't really have any huge qualms with it. I just felt kind of disconnected with the relationship in a way. I think for me, some writing, and this is gonna sound super English lit classy, but I don't really love when it's a lot of telling instead of showing you through actions, or maybe in just not as obvious ways of developing a relationship, if that makes sense. So because we were literally in the minds of Amelia and Noah, it just kind of felt like I don't know, it felt kind of repetitive. Like, to me, it kind of felt like they're like, oh, she's so hot, but I can't get too attached, and it just felt kind of repetitive to me. I mostly started enjoying this in the last part of it because that's when everything starts getting wrapped up pretty nicely and it brings more into relationship with their families. This one is about Amelia Rose, who is a famous pop star, and she's kind of having an identity crisis. So she's an Audrey Hepburn enthusiast, and so she decides to pick one of her movies, and it's Roman Holiday, in which Audrey Hepburn goes to Italy and decides to have just a getaway to find herself a little bit. And so Amelia decides to do the same thing, but since she's leaving for tour in a couple weeks, she decides to go to the nearest Rome, which is in Kentucky. So she goes to Rome, Kentucky, and ends up getting a taste of small life. Her car breaks down, though, in front of Noah's house. And from there, they just kind of start to get to know each other. Noah was burned in the past. He doesn't want a relationship with another person who's just passing through the town. He's also a pie shop owner and really is embracing the small town life, being close to his family. And she rediscovers her love for her passion for singing. She knows she'll eventually want to go back to her life, and she knows that she won't be able to settle down in a small town or completely uproot another person's life who isn't used to the flashing lights and the fame of her life. Like I said, it was 3 stars, so it wasn't bad. I just didn't think it was super impactful for me, but it's a cute read for people who are just looking for a nice little romance to get into. Someone did ask me on Fable, which is where my book club is at. I'll put the link down below if you guys want to check out my book club. But someone asked me on Fable how spicy it was, and honestly, on a level of 1 through 5, I would say it's a 1. It's a pretty closed door romance, so they don't really get into their intimacy, and it's not super, there's not a lot of it in there. So if you're looking for, if you don't like spice, then I would say that's a pretty good book for you as well. Now, let's get into picking my February reads. So basically, right now, for sure, I'm in the middle of Goblet of Fire, so this will be a part of my February TBR. And I also started, I'm only 10 pages into this, but I started The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I'm also enjoying this one, but I really just wanted to start reading this because, one, it's Black History Month for February, and also I've had this for such a long time, and I know it trended, I know it's still pretty popular now, but I know it trended a couple years ago. So I'm really excited to actually know what people are talking about and read this highly acclaimed book. So those two are definitely on my February TBR. What I'm going to do is probably just pick 3 cards from the deck, and what I really want to do this year is get through my physical TBR, which are the books I physically own that I haven't read yet, because, well, I'm very motivated this year, but also my goal is to read 30 books, and literally when I counted out my physical TBR, I have 30 books. So I think that's a sign, guys, you know? So I made this little poster thingy so I can keep track of all the books I own, and then I can just check it off as soon as I read it, so that's also satisfying and will motivate me to do it even more. So instead of going and getting the books, I'm just going to kind of glance at this and pick it, and then I'll put a picture next to me somewhere so that you guys can also see which book it is. The deck I'm going to use today is the Disney Villains Tarot deck. I got this one. This is the newest deck I've gotten, and I've been using it recently, and I absolutely love it. It's super cute. But like I said before, I'm not going to put intention into it. I'm just gonna pick whatever's at the top, and then I'll read the interpretation based off the little guidebook, and I'll choose a book that most represents that to me. Yay! I'm super excited. I love this. I've never done this before, so let's see. The first one is the Seven of Wands. It has the evil queen on there from Snow White. I think I got this in one of my readings recently too, actually. I think this is kind of about not losing perseverance or to keep going, I guess. So it says, Seven of Wands suggests you're facing tough competition. If someone is trying to get between you and your goals, hold your ground. This isn't the time to let down your guard. Keep your defenses up and give it your all. So the first ones that come to mind for me are the Hunger Games. I don't think that's what the Inheritance Games are. I could be mistaken. Let me look. Inheritance Games synopsis.
Lost her mom and now living with her stepsister, Avery has discovered that a billionaire has left her his will. Avery will not simply inherit the fortune, she must play Tobias Hawthorne's Inheritance Games. To earn her reward, she must go to Texas and live in the Hawthorne house for 1 year, along with Tobias's 4 grandsons. Avery must work together with the family to solve the game and find the truth.
She must make appearances in society while dealing with assassination attempts. Got I? Okay, I wouldn't say that one just because she just kind of inherited this money, it seems like, and she's also trying to figure out what the deal is with that. So probably not that one. But like I said, I'm thinking the Hunger Games or Fourth Wing. Because I have the Hunger Games in Spanish, so that's also the thing. I would love to read more Spanish because I don't think I've read Spanish since I was little, or a book in Spanish. So that's also the thing, though. It would take more brain power. But also Fourth Wing, do I really want to get into that right now? That book is long, too. I'll go with the Hunger Games. Okay. I didn't think I would be reading the Hunger Games this month, but c'est la vie, or whatever the French say. So Seven of Wands is gonna be the Hunger Games. So cool. I'm just gonna choose one from the middle this time. Is the Ten of Swords. This Ten of Swords indicates a friendship, relationship, or project you've put a lot of energy and thought into is coming to a painful end, possibly through a betrayal. That's intense. There's no way around it. You will be left with heavy emotions. Give yourself time to process this ending and get closure, but trust it's for the best. Bigger, better things are in store for you. That's crazy, bro. Coming to an end. That makes me kind of want to go along the lines of a memoir. Ooh, or it could be... Oh, that'd be an interesting one. Also, it's February, so romance. I think I'll go with This Spells Love. That'd be fun. I guess I didn't really explain what the Hunger Games were, but I mean, I feel like we all collectively as a society experienced the Hunger Games. So I'm not going to explain it. But basically, This Spells Love is about a girl who has just gone through a breakup and she's really upset about it. She goes with her friends plural, question mark? But one of her best friends is a guy friend. And they basically just decide to get super drunk and decide to make a spell to kind of make him forget about her. Or maybe make her forget about him. Something like that. Just basically, he forgets about her and so that way she can move on a lot quicker. But the spell goes wrong and then she wakes up and finds that her best friend doesn't even remember her. So the way to break the spell is to get him to kiss her somehow. But he doesn't know her, so she has to get to know him. And then she starts to find that she's kind of falling in love with him. And then she questions, do I even want to break this spell? Because I feel like he was the one after all. And I'm not sure if I want to go back to being friends. I think that would be perfect. So, yay! Ten of Swords will be This Spells Love. Now for the last one. I'll get it from the bottom. Except not the very bottom, because I kind of spoiled that one. Ooh, the Hanged Man. Okay. This one is kind of about letting go, maybe seeing things from a different perspective. It says, Ka is a mighty, fearsome python who uses the power of hypnosis on those unfortunate enough to cross his path, entrancing them into a vulnerable, dreamlike state. The Hangman tarot card denotes the effect Ka has on those he hypnotizes. It represents the act of seeing things from a new perspective, accepting unexpected delays, and surrendering to a situation. Much like those who meet Ka's hypnotic stare, you find yourself faced with an unexpected obstacle that puts your plans on hold. The advice of the Hangman tarot card is to relax a little and go with the flow. Use this setback as an opportunity to pause and reflect. It might end up being just what you need to gain a helpful new perspective. This one seems pretty easy for me, unless I see something else. I think for the Hanged Man, I'm going to go with The Book You Want Everyone You Love to Read. That one is a bit of a self-help book, but it's kind of about deconstructing beliefs that you have that are hindering you. Every self-help book is kind of like that, but it's kind of about stop asking yourself why and start asking how instead, because that's much more helpful. And there was just the part that was saying when we experience something negative, we tend to always associate that situation or that characteristic or that behavior with a grand statement of everyone sucks or everyone doesn't care about other people or no one's gonna care about me the way I care about them. Kind of just encompassing such a large statement on something that's negative and not necessarily true, because hardly any statement we tell ourselves that says everyone, everything, 100% or all is not true, because it's kind of impossible for that to be true about every single situation that falls under that umbrella statement. So the author had put in there saying the opposite can also be true. You can also think everyone loves me and everyone thinks I'm super talented, and that's also not true. But if you're gonna tell yourself a piece of fiction, it might as well be a positive one. So I just really love that, and I feel like that kind of represents the Hanged Man. It's kind of just about maybe gaining a new perspective of how you're seeing things. I feel like that would be a lovely book to read, especially in February. Like, not only I'll have the romance, but also the helping yourself and showing yourself that self-love. Yes, these are the 3 cards I got for February. Let me know if you guys like this or what you think about this, if you want to see more of these. I had a lot of fun. Let me know what you thought. Also, let me know how many books you read last month or what your favorite reads were, or if you've read any of these books, what you're going to read in February. And I hope you have a very lovely rest of your day, and I hope to see you sometime very soon. Bye!